talking Memphis wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
March the 7th, and man, we are dressed up. We're dressed up good, man, feeling good. And Adam made me dress up, not by telling me to dress up. He's been playing with graphics and looks and has the neatest thing. And I'm thinking, with that, I can't just wear a hoodie or something like that. Now, Chris is wearing a hoodie, but I'm the owner, the founder, the president of Power Pro Wrestling. And so I can't be wearing a hoodie when we have some fancy graphics going on featuring the Mid-South Coliseum. So that's a cue or clue. That is a clue for Adam to put up that neat little graphic that he was working on that picture of the Mid-South Coliseum. So hopefully we can do that right now and you will see how sharp that is. I think it's pretty good, pretty cool. Adam, of course, ignoring me, not paying any attention to me. So, oh well, maybe you won't get to see it. Maybe he just worked hours and hours and hours on that great graphic. And let's see what he's saying to him. It's in the background. I don't see it in the background. I don't see the daggum thing. Do you guys see it in the background? Do you see a picture of the Mid-South Coliseum? He worked hard, and I don't see it at all. I see the regular graphic. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Andrew Calvin Jr. says hello. Al Tuttle says hello to Adam, says hello to me and everybody else. And I guess Chris Ellis is everybody else because I hadn't introduced him at all. Now, in the production meeting, before we went live on the air, Greg Wayne, who is watching now, I said, Adam, have you seen on Facebook? Because I've looked 100 times, update on Greg. So, Greg, if you would type out or have Vicky type out or have somebody in your family type it out. Somebody lay some information because the prayer warriors, easy for me to say, they're out. And Greg, watching this show today, let us know. Greg says hello. Again, I've mentioned Al Tuttle. He is in the house. And my buddy that I've had on the Randy Hales show, Raza Johnson from Brisbane, Old Australia, in the house. We're about to bring in to say hello, to prove he's still here, just to piss him off because he is not as comfortable coming on this show as he is coming on the Monday night show. I want Adam to come on, show that he's here live in living color. I want you to say hello, then quickly say goodbye. Go ahead.
All right, hello. There's the picture because it's a background picture. You're not going to see it unless there's two people on the screen.
That is
so
cool.
There it is.
How about that, folks? That is cool, cool, cool. You did good with that. Did good with that. Coming from Southside, Arkansas, the assistant superintendent of Southside, Arkansas schools broke away from a baseball game because he knew Pat's not here today. Michael Sanchiana's not here today. And this man doesn't have faith in somebody he grew up with, faith with somebody in somebody that he's from the same town with. He broke a lot of kids' hearts by leaving that ball game to come support ORH. He's here on this show live talking Memphis wrestling. Hadn't been here in a couple of weeks. Busy man. Tournaments going on. I don't think you have a team in the state championship coming up next week. By the way, I do.
Yes, you do.
Jonesboro High School, third year in a row.
Yep.
I do. But anyway, hey, Chris, good evening.
Hey, RH, Adam, great to be back. Al says hi, Al. Greg just typed in, everything went good, so that's great. Good for happy for Greg. Great to be back on the show. Excited about what we're doing tonight, and always a great time when I get to be on.
Well, it's certainly great to see you. We've had certainly some sad shows. We had certainly starting with the Jay Briscoe situation, then the Jerry Lawler medical emergency, and then the death of Jerry Jarrett. Lots going on. Lucian says, can comment, but limited in what I can share as I am. And this is Lusa, Liza, Mr. Johnson. He's in Facebook jail. I don't know how that happens. I've never, and I say the F word every once in a while. I've never been in Facebook jail, but so he couldn't share and promote today's show. Hey, talking about Memphis wrestling, and we'll get to it in the latter part of the show, but we'll do a tease right now. So we're going to talk the year 1987. Chris, where did you live in 1987? What were you doing in your life?
I had quit college, and I was working on the farm in Monette, Arkansas, for my uncle. And through I had a car wreck in the fall of '85. Recuperated through most of '86. Worked for him through '87 and early '88. Then went back to college. So that's what I was doing. So I was refereeing a lot of ball games, umpiring, and going. I still watching Memphis wrestling every week. So I remember this, what we're going to talk about today, very, very well. And so, yeah, I mean, I was around.
That's what I was going to ask. Just didn't know. I was going to ask if you were still around watching the TV. This is before you moved way away, right, where you couldn't get our TV.
Yeah, I didn't move away till '95. So I missed the Power Pro years more than anything.
Right. How far, Chris, do you think up on the ladder if you're ranking, and we'll bring Adam in after you respond, in the ranking of the most memorable moments in Memphis wrestling, how far up there is the Idol Lawler hair match? Tommy Rich hid in the whole match underneath the ring. He came from underneath the cage. We will see highlights of that, and we will deep dive on that situation and talk about it a long time and watch some video. Great thing. But how far up there do you think that moment is, Chris?
Well, for me, I'd say it's in the top 5. From
Right.
1974 till the 90s, so my 20-year run of watching the show and following it very closely, it's definitely top 5. I could probably name my top 5 real easily, but I think it's definitely top 5. Because one thing, Lawler never lost a hair match.
No.
Lawler never lost a hair match. So that was huge. And then the fact that Rich and Idol had to fight for their dang life to get to the dressing room.
And we will show a little bit about that click and that clip and that situation. Guess who was right in the middle of that near riot?
You were.
ORH. You got to protect your boys, even though you have your life at stake. We have good video. We will show Idol and Rich. Idol and Rich injuring Jerry Lawler. We'll show that. We'll also show Jerry Lawler getting his revenge. We'll show clips of the hair match. Then we will show that little brief minute that Idol and Rich and Paulie Dangerously had trouble getting out of the Mid-South Coliseum. So we're having on the Memphis Wrestling on a very exciting, very, very exciting night and very exciting time period. I thought I would give a little background. You know, I started ring announcing in the early 70s, selling pictures early 70s, ring announcing when I was a freshman in high school. My first break being officially in the office when Jerry Lawler hired me to be his assistant, and I moved away from home for the first time in my life in 1986, and I went and lived in Memphis, and I worked as Lawler's assistant, and it morphed into kind of the assistant booker, and I learned so much during that period, and it's a very interesting time. one of the keys in that area, that was the debut year of Jeff Jarrett, and Jerry Jarrett was very smart. Jeff's first year in the business, he didn't want to be the booker. He wanted Lawler to be the booker. So Jeff never even got one finish ever in that first year from from Jerry Jarrett. He just wasn't around. He didn't come to TV. He didn't come to the matches unless Lawler would book him in a situation. He did that once or twice. So Lawler gave him finishes. I gave him finishes. That's the way it was. Then in '87, Jerry took back over. I moved to Hendersonville, Tennessee at that point and started working with Jerry Jarrett. And that was very interesting to see how different things are done. Lawler is a last minute thing. I mean, the last minute guy. He would lay out the TV when he got back from the event on a Friday night and spend 20 or 30 minutes. He's thought about it, has in his head. Jerry Jarrett would do real office hours basically from 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning to time to go to the town. But he usually didn't go to the towns, just Memphis and TV. So he would work when we'd go. But it was very interesting. And that was my elementary education all the way through college education as far as the wrestling business. And so much is learned in the wrestling business from those car rides. You've heard me say that before, and and just other lines of work too. Car rides, you get a lot done and you learn a lot of stuff, Chris. And certainly I know you've learned a lot of stuff in your life, whether it's the racing business, the school administration business, the coaching business, or a great knowledgeable historian on Memphis wrestling. A lot of that total deal has come from a car, correct?
Oh yeah, I mean, riding up and down the road, and I'll really use this: the officiating bit and basketball officiating. Back when I started as a kid at 18, you rode with the veterans to the game in the same car, and you rode home with them. So you learned your craft, you honed your craft with these veteran guys who knew all the ins and outs, and you listened. You know that old saying about God gave you two ears and one mouth for a reason. That's the same. I mean, wrestling obviously was the same way. Sit in the back seat or do whatever, listen to the veterans and learn, and all by listening and soaking it in like a sponge. All those things happen, and the camaraderie aspect perpetuates the growth in that case.
It's just so interesting and so much you do learn from there. Again, the little review coming up in the latter part of the show, because I want to do a little current wrestling. And I know not everybody out there wants to talk current wrestling, but there's exciting things going on, and we'll talk about that. But first, we're going to take a look back at the year 1987. And in 1987, as I said, the Lawler, Rich, and Idol feud. The Lawler, Rich feud, Idol involved in that, and that is very, very interesting. Also today, we will be taking a look back at this past Sunday's Revolution pay-per-view from AEW. We'll take a look at that and do that pretty quickly. And then, as it always is, it's coming up in April, and the 39th edition of WrestleMania is coming. It's a 2-night event in the beginning of the month in April. It's in Inglewood, California, and it will be very, very interesting. And some of the matches have been signed, some of them been speculated, and we'll try to breeze through that. But as far as me talking now to a Memphis wrestling fan, without a doubt. And we have not really talked, me and you, Chris, about WrestleMania. Have you ever watched a WrestleMania? And that's the first question. The second question, what did you think on that very first one you saw?
Well, the very first one I watched back, whenever Hogan and Andre or whatever back then. I watched Jake. I watched Macho Man. I watched Steamboat. After they were gone, I kind of got out of watching because I can't stand John Cena and all that, so I quit watching it. But for a guy who grew up with Memphis wrestling, to see that big of a Super Bowl type presentation for wrestling and see guys that I'd seen in person, it was like astonishing. It was hard to like wrap your head around that. Wow, this is really taking place. Like this is really happening, and this is something that, you know, who knew if it was going to continue on at that time? But it turned out to be bigger than words can express. And like I said, I watched the first because those guys I had more of a connection with, and then as I lost connection, I kind of stopped watching it.
That's the question I want to ask to our audience, our friends that's watching. And I know we're kind of going fast paced and running through a lot of stuff. And I know a lot of people making comments. I appreciate it very much. I'm not getting to all of them. Laza, one of the things he said, he loved the ECW USWA feud. I was mad at somebody then and was in a leave of absence. I think that was the Larry Burton era of the USWA, and I got the hell out of Dodge because I knew the company would not last long. I couldn't watch the television. And, you know, since then I watched some of the ECW stuff, but you know, that just wasn't my deal. That was a bad part, and I knew it was the beginning of the end. PJ is in the house. Hello. I hadn't spent enough time saying hello to PJ, Lover, the first lady of Talking Memphis Wrestling, to Al Tuttle. Love Al, love Brooks, love all the regulars. Sometime I tend, and I love the fact we get new people out here because Mr. Johnson is a great addition to this show, certainly. But sometimes I kind of brush over the old standbys, and this show wouldn't be what it is without people like PJ, one of the first listeners, people like Greg Wayne. For Christ's sakes, he's in the freaking hospital watching this stinking show. That's how much he likes it, how much he supports it for sure, and I appreciate it. Hey, William Wars, what is going on? Panetta says only watch WrestleMania if Lawler is on commentary. If not, really don't care. Mr. Johnson said, didn't Hulk Hogan start in Memphis? Says Terry the Hulk Boulder. There is a debate whether he started for Ron Fuller or us, but around the time his first debut video put together by my great friend Randy West. So I think Terry Boulder, he was called the Incredible Hulk Terry Boulder, and that's what it was for sure. And it was just interesting to see him back in the day. Let's see. What else is going on? Am I missing anybody else? Frank Seaton, other part of Arkansas, from Jonesboro, Arkansas. And I got to tell you, open the roof. And Chris, you eat your heart out, man. Reach your heart out, because I'm not saying Raider pride is justified, because they gone. But for the third year in the row, for like 10 of the last 12 or 13 years. Open the roof. Let it rain. Give them hell. Hurricane, the Jonesboro High School Golden Gang. The Golden Hurricane will be headed past you, headed up to Hot Springs Square. Are we going to do it again? Who's the opponent? Springdale?
I think it's Springdale. Yeah, well, of course, now, transparency here to our audience. One of my best friends is the basketball coach in Jonesboro. So I am a Jonesboro fan, although I didn't go to school there. But I think Wes will win it again. I hope they do. I always pull for him. But yeah, I have to listen to you talk when it's basketball season, because they're always good. And you got to get the all-time winningest program in Arkansas.
Hey, you might not can. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just fantastic. And Barry Pruitt did an excellent job. And who thought it's hard to replace a legend? But by God, a coach West came in, and boy, he set records after records after records. Now I'll ask you a quick question and we'll get into the AEW Revolution thing. I just like talking other subjects. Whether people want to hear about it, eventually you'll get Memphis Wrestling, folks. Eventually you will. But we're talking now, because what our people don't know is, in a shocking matter, our Jonesboro High School, where I graduated, by the way, in 1980, when I would have to say I'm one of, maybe not the most, because there's a lot of people made more money. Chris Fowler of Fowler Foods and Banks and Kentucky Fried Chicken and Taco Bell, he's made more money, but I don't think he's had the freaking life I've had. I don't think he's had the adventure. I don't think he's been in riots. I don't think he's been in one of the most successful local television show in the history of television. I don't think he's done that. Anyway, our football team hadn't won a state championship. The 79 team, the 86 wrestling guy, wrestling born, wrestling bred. When I die, I'll be wrestling dead. So I wasn't on the football team or the basketball team or the track team. I thought about, I would swear I would have my notebook when I was supposed to do math homework, and I was freaking booking the next week's Jonesboro card. That's exactly what I was doing. Anyway, the football coach of the last 10 years, 15 years, however long he's been there, Randy Coleman, has resigned as head football coach. He's going to be in administration. He's following your footsteps in doing that little thing. And again, you may not be able to answer this question. Frank Seaton wants to know as much as I do. Any speculation, who will be the next Jonesboro High School head football coach?
I do not have any knowledge of who that may be. I know that and I haven't talked to any of the leadership there, but I talked to some boosters from there and recommended a couple people that I would definitely pursue if it were me. But that's all I did. And I mean, I'm a nobody, so they're not going to. I'm just saying that people ask me in conversation, who are some of the better football coaches that you would look at? I said, well, I would hire this guy or this guy because they're outstanding, but if you can get them. But
can I ask a question to ask if what you think about this guy? Or we don't want to mix your wrestling with your job. So if you can't, this might be a dangerous question, but I'll just tell you my thought. If you want to say something, if you don't want to say something, I just know that I don't even know the guy's name. The Wynn football coach for several years, I think is a very good, excellent coach. I don't know if his scheme will fit for Jonesboro. It will have to change. He would certainly change the style of play, and I don't know that's what the administration wants in Jonesboro High School, but it will be interesting no matter what they do, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. And the coach you're referring to is a good football coach, but it would be extremely opposite of what the majority of people do nowadays as far as spread and throwing the football and so forth. But now I also think that you may have to play differently to beat, because you're competing with the teams in the Northwest, the Bentonvilles, the Springdales, the Harbors. So if they're all doing the same thing, you might want to do something different. Like Harding University plays in their football conference, they run the wishbone, everybody else throws it every down. So you might want to look at something different. I don't have any idea. I mean, I got a couple guys in mind. I don't have any idea what they'll do. I mean, Dr. Will Banks is a really great lady. Former Nettleton Raider, I might add.
Oh, boo. Her husband, hold on. Her husband, though, the brains behind her is a West School alumni just like me. Annie Camp alumni just like me. A Jonesboro High School graduate just like me, and a Arkansas State University guy just like me. And so Kim Wilbanks obviously was smart enough to upgrade, and she didn't marry somebody in Nettleton. She marries a Jonesboro High School guy. Hey, we got to talk wrestling now.
Okay.
First of all, Liza wants to know: did Lord Humongous ever wrestle in the USWA? He wrestled in the CWA originally, and do you know who the first Humongous was?
The Sid, wasn't it?
No,
Then it was Dale's. Was it Dale somebody?
no.
No. Who was
Mike
it?
Stark.
Oh, Mike Stark was?
Yes,
I didn't realize
and then
Mike Stark. I remember Mike Stark.
later on, it was Sid Vicious. Later on, for sure, there. And Frank Seaton said he's going to ask someone. I didn't know Frank Seaton had no seeking friends, but he says he does. He doesn't know. Who is Mike the Mule? What the world? Who is Mike the Mule? Do you know, Chris?
No. But
He
I
said
know
that.
Mike Stark was the funniest things I've
Oh,
ever
Mike
seen.
the Mule Stark. Okay, I got you.
One of the funniest things I ever saw was on wrestling when Lawler took out his knee and all that. I mean, I thought Mike Stark was terrible. So
Yeah, it wasn't. He wasn't even good for sure. I don't know if I'd say he was horrible, but he wasn't very good. Hey,
you wouldn't even
folks,
give him that much credit to call him horrible.
we're going to have Adam follow me with graphics because I'm going to tell you about Revolution. I'm going to tell you about AEW Revolution. I'm going to tell you about my history, people, about AEW pay-per-views. And they've been doing this for 3 years, 4 years, however long they've been doing this. And I can tell you right now, Randy House has bought every single one of them. Every single stinking one of them. I've spent the $50. I've watched it. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for sure. However, because of silly stuff going on in my Uber life and my personal life, I'm thinking I don't need to watch this past Sunday. First of all, it gets aggravating watching 5 hours worth of wrestling show. I didn't really want to do that. And I didn't really want to spend the $50. So I'm not the type. You can get a link and you can cheat and you can go in and you can watch that thing. But I'm not going to do that. I'd be afraid I'd get busted or something and spend the rest of my born days in prison. Anyway, seriously, I'm a wrestling promoter. I'm not going to screw another wrestling promoter around, even though he's a multi-billionaire or his family is. I'm just not going to do that. But then I heard so many great reviews from Busted Open, Mark Henry, Bully Ray, Dave LaGreca, just everybody on Facebook talking how good AEW Revolution was. And I'll make some quick little points as I look at the notes. And I want you to listen, folks. AEW at times has been accused of being WWE light, been accused of a lot, and just listen to Jim Cornette and all that sort of thing. But listen to this card. The opening match was young Ricky Starks, a AEW original against Chris Jericho, WCW star, certainly the WWF star, WWE star, wrestled all over the world. Jericho against Stark, and the winner, the hometown guy, Ricky Starks. Hell of a finish, hell of a reaction. The second match of the night was a final burial match, a casket match, so to speak. Christian Cage, from Christian and Edge from the WWF, against Jack Perry, the Jungle Boy, the son of former Beverly Hills 90210, and he's certainly he's passed away, Luke Perry, the dad of the Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. Jack Perry and Christian Cage in a feud that's been going on for almost a year. Cage representing and certainly a former WWF guy against Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy went over. 2 matches in a row. A WWE guy did the favor for a homegrown guy. The second match, same thing. WWF guy, favor to the homegrown guy. The third match was the House of Black against the trios title, a 6-man title. I don't know why they call it. I know why they call it that, but it's silly. Elite the Bucks and Jericho against the House of Black. The House of Black won that match. Then had a ladies match with Jamie Hayter, Ruby Soho, and Saraya in a match. And then we had Hangman Page in a Texas death match that was violent as hell, people. I mean, it was brutal, brutal, brutal. Had some barbed wire, had just all kinds of stuff. Moxley tapped out, formerly Dean Ambrose in the WWE, put over a homegrown guy, Hangman Adam Page. Then for the TNT title, it was Samoa Joe defending against homegrown guy Wardlow. That match was again won by the hometown guy Wardlow. Then the Gun Club, Billy Gunn's sons, and the tag team champions won the fatal four-way match that Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal was involved in. A very, very great match. And the main event of the night, homegrown guy, MJF, in a Iron Man match that they went 60 minutes and then had overtime. MJF tapped Daniel Bryan out. Folks, when I heard this, as we can come to me now, because I'm not looking at my notes, I'm still fired up. I'm still excited. Very worth the thing. If you live closer, I would have got you right on the phone, except it takes an hour and a half for you to get to me. And I knew you were at a ball game and doing all that big shot superintendent stuff. So you couldn't come. But it's on the archive. So if you ever come to Jonesboro and have 3 or 4 hours, we'll sit down and talk. The concept of that pay-per-view, man, AEW, I don't think the Dynamite's in the build for this show, and they say that the numbers were good, but the build didn't excite me too much. I decided not to get it, but certainly I was proved wrong. This was just fantastic. Now, I don't know how much you read Modern Wrestling News. I don't know how much of what I just rambled on, and I preached at you, brother. I preached at you, telling you this. All the new guys and all the established national stars from another company did their job to make new stars. I think AEW, because everybody, that daggum Jack Perry, Jungle boy, he's smaller, but of course, he's from California. It was in San Francisco. He was great. Ricky Starks have charisma and he can work. Then you have Adam Page and very good. Wardlow is very good. And what can you say about MJF? How much I'll let you answer. How much had you heard about any of this stuff, or you just hearing it for the first time, being lost in your own stinking life, worried about health problems in your family? And I understand that, but this is the wrestling. This is important to me, even talking about AEW. So what did you think about what I just laid on you, Chris? We go full screen with him.
Well, I actually keep up with AEW because I like FTR and I like Hangman Page, and I like, obviously, MJF's the man. I just had an argument on Twitter with a guy this week about, he said so-and-so is the best modern heel, and I can't even remember who it said, and I said to him, MJF is still in the business, correct? So, yes, I do follow those three. Of course, anytime the Bucks lose, it's always a win for me because I can't stand the Bucks.
Me neither.
That's another reason to watch, hoping the Bucks lose. But
they did.
I think that this may be, now I didn't watch this one, and you and I have watched some of them and communicated during the shows. I think this has got them turned back, headed in a good direction. All the reviews I read today were good. Feedback was good. Looked like they had a lot of good buy rate and so on. So they're headed, because I think Triple H has WWE headed in an upward trajectory. So it's good that AEW has that also. The only concern I have for AEW is the amount of money they're spending on They got like 160 employees. I mean, it's nuts. 160 people on their roster. I don't see how they can keep just throwing money at it.
When you're being bankrolled by probably the 50th wealthiest person in the world, you can do that, Chris.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I mean, Vince is a billionaire too. So billionaires are billionaires, but they didn't get to be billionaires by running bad business.
Right. And I'm not saying, I don't think you're saying it either, that they're doing bad business.
No, I'm talking about economically,
right,
spending so much on like wastes.
Because of the fact that I don't know if it's waste. I think a lot of the guys, they just don't want Vince to have them, and they pay him to stay home. It's a strategy that I don't think I would have. One question Liza says from Australia, the land down under, says MJF reminds me of very lost. Now, does a young Jerry Lawler, and you watched it as much as I did, Chris, any similarities at all with MJF?
The body language, the facial expressions, the demeanor, very similar. The natural arrogance and the way he can make a subtle smile or subtle look or raise or lower his tone and get the reaction he's looking for. You go watch the old heel clips of Lawler from the 70s and you'll see some similarities. But now it's two different eras and two different audiences. But I do see some, I don't know what you call it, like characteristics of him. I do can see where people would say that.
What I thought the finish was real good. So it was a 1 hour Iron Man match, and I've seen several. I've seen Brett and Sean and just several over the years, and they're not real easy to do. And a lot of people just don't flat out do them. I thought MJF had himself in the best physical shape of his life, because the question that busted open radio and Mark Henry, not so much Mark, but Bully Ray was saying, I don't know if he can do it, because it ain't easy. He'll be breathing, but he got in the best shape of his life and was doing a lot of cardio, and he had it, man. He had it, was in great shape. So they go the hour and it goes Broadway. It's tied 2 or 3 apiece. I don't remember the details, but it was tied. And so Tony Khan told in Tony Schiavone's headset, and they said at that point, hey, we're going to have sudden death, blah, blah, blah. When they thought it was over, a doctor hit the ring and went, because MJF was passed out. So this is one of the most creative things I've ever seen in my life. So they had a oxygen tank, and they was giving MJF oxygen right there. And so then they took it outside the ring, and it was underneath the ring. And so they restarted the match, and they started going wham, bam, bam, ding, dang. Here we go, going crazy, going back and forth, false finish, boom, another false finish, boom, de-doom, boom. He goes again. And finally, MJF takes a big freaking bump. It's hard for me to say a finish without saying the F word, by the way. It's not right, but I know I better not do that. Anyway, he takes a big bump, and he's down, and his face bursts down. He's about to fall out of the ring. There's that oxygen tank. There's that oxygen tank. Referee kind of distracted or some sort of thing. MJF takes that oxygen tank, whacks him with it. Boom. Instead of doing what normally everybody else would have done in a different era, certainly in our era, they hadn't even invented the tap out. How many times do you see the top babyface give up ever? But UFC changed that. UFC changed that because there's a man's going to tap out before he gets arm broke or leg broke or something like that. So it makes more sense they do it now. But he went with the label lock. Daniel Brian's hold. MJF put on him, and eventually, after trying to get out, finally tapped out. It was over. It did worlds of good for MJF. Where does he go next? Is it Adam Cole? Is it Punk coming back? That's some people say that. I don't think that's going to happen. Is it Adam Page? Who's it going to be? But eventually, is it going to be the Jungle Boy? It's just very, 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 very interesting. And when I told this story about how many of the homegrown talent, they're setting it up, people. They're setting it up for a future. They're smart. Again, as Chris so rightly said, they're spending a lot of money. But I think they have a game plan. I think they know where they want to go. I really do. I think they've stopped going after so many WWE guys, and I think they got carried away with that. But I give it a thumbs up big time, and I'm interested to know if our audience, if we can put the some of the comments up there, Adam, and I want to catch up on the comments, folks. I'm turning my head so I can see my big monitor right here, if Adam's able to. And I hope my buddy Nicholas Oakes, who encouraged me along with Chris Rodman to watch this, and so I didn't see Nick's comment. Can you put Nicholas's comment up real quick? I was there live firsthand. Nick is a California guy. He said main event and whole show was outstanding. And Nick, was that the only time you've ever been to an AEW show? Let me know that. And he said, how do you rank this Iron Man match among the others I've seen? I don't have great memories. I have good memories of I like that concept of a match, but as far as comparing, I really can't tell you details on others. I know Shawn Michaels and who was it? Bret Hart was good, and there was good ones over the years. I can't even nail you any more. Mr. Johnson said was a LaBelle Lock name after Judo Gene LaBelle and created by him. I think you're right on the number, because we have a wrestling historian over there in the land down under. Nicholas says that was his first AEW show ever, and I'm assuming that you will go back, and I'm assuming that it was very well worth the money. Any other comments we have, or are we pretty much caught up, Adam, on saying hello to everybody that we want to say hello to? Here we go. Mr. Johnson again, AEW. Michael says that. Pat says this. I hate this. AEW need to bring in radios to book and manage their talent. You have my vote. First of all, I've been out of this business full time since 2001. It's all changed, totally changed. You're dealing with younger people, and I've dealt with another job with younger people. I wouldn't want to do that. I'm making money with what I'm doing, as long as they don't try to screw me around like I was trying to screw around last week. They cost me some money, but as far as wrestling concerned, that leads to bad stuff for me. That leads to no sleep. That has led in the past to drinking. That leads, again, no sleep, no eat, freaking drinking, drugs, all kind of running around all hours of the day. I have no desire, because if I'm going to do the wrestling business, I'm going to do it like I'm a rock star. I'm going to do it like the wild, wild west. I can promise you for that. Al says, would love to watch MJF's interview, but have to turn it when he grabs the mic, because he can't cut a promo without saying the GD word. But Danielson and Moxley are the same way. Maybe when MJF goes to WWE, if he goes to WWE, he'll cut that off, and I don't like that. That's my least favorite word of all time, using Lord's name in vain. As Nick says, WWE's production is still superior, but AEW did great for sure. And I understand that. Sometimes I think the WWE is overproduced. Sometimes it frustrates me. It really does. I mean, it really does for sure. And let me see who else we are missing here. I think we pretty much got everybody. And then I'm going to take this note right here that I wrote down that I was in front of my computer. By the way, Adam, next time you're here, you have to help me. Somehow or another, on my TV, the BR app that you put on there, I don't know what happened, but it won't work. But I came to this laptop and watched it on the big TV here, so it worked out fine. But I need you, and there's certainly no emergency. Ahmad Rashad is in the house. I love him. Mr. Johnson said, fair enough, Randy. Wrestling can be a very crazy. Jeff Raw Wheeler said, smoke a joint. Done that. Drink a beer and promote good wrestling. I don't smoke joints no more. I don't drink any beer. I don't do anything else. Plus, I have a high school administrator. I have never done any of that stuff. Chris, come back on here. Have you obviously seen Randy Hills doing any of that silly stuff ever?
Never seen you do any of it, RH.
Never.
I've never.
And you're not just protecting your job or protecting your spot on this show. You have never seen me do it, and Adam Dunn has never seen me do it. And I can honestly say, do what?
I can honestly say I've never seen you do it.
I don't think anybody has that's coming because I hadn't done it since 1995 anyway. So Ahmad is saying hello to Chris, and I'm sure he'll say hello to Adam too. He likes Adam. Now the freaking Liza to promote my book, he bought the book. He bought the Kindle version of the book. Let me run this show. I know that I have to promote my book. I'm on a roll. Hell, have you ever done this sort of thing? This ain't easy. Keeping people entertained, keeping people fired up. You can order the Kindle version of the book that we told you earlier in the show. If you have had your ears open and freaking listen, Jesus Christ. Born in 1995, that's the year I quit doing silly stuff. That's the year I quit doing silly stuff. So I'm not going there, even though Adam put them up there. I guess Mr. Johnson is paying Adam off to go a direction on this show. He's producing this show now, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm just being entertaining. Nobody gets your feelings hurt. I'm going to put that over there. And I am going to grab this right now. Probably about 5 minutes of show, maybe 7 before we get into the Memphis wrestling stuff. What is the panels of our panel's opinion of what? Women of wrestling? I've never seen it in my life. Chris?
On Saturday night that I watch right before that comes on. So as soon as I see the intro, I turn it. That's my opinion. That's my opinion of it. And Randy knows this. Anytime there's a divas match, women's match, females match, whatever the crap, I'm not watching it. Never have. I never watched Fabulous Moolah till current. Not watching it. Not watching Charlotte Flair. I'm not watching any of that. So never have.
Nicholas Oaks asked my top 3 or 4 favorite talents in AEW. I would have to say I like a heel man, and they did some good heel stuff for sure. I would say MJF would be my favorite. That would be number 1. I don't know for the future. Just I like a lot of them. I don't think I can go top 3. I don't know who would go. I see a future of Jungle Boy. I see a future of Starks. I see that Adam Page is very good. I like Moxley better than I like Moxley better than than Cornette likes him for sure. For sure. They just have a lot of very good people. Uh, Nicholas, no, Kenny Omega. I think his facial expressions are bad. I think his opinion on the wrestling business that it's all performance. I think he hurts the. Absolutely don't like Kenny Omega. Nothing to do with Cornette not liking him, and I don't like the Young Bucks either at all. I think the business has. I love Jericho. Absolutely love Jericho. Hey, I understand the wrestling business has evolved. Understand that, but to me, there's limits, and Jericho goes over those limits. Absolutely, the Young Bucks do too. And I'm not anti young people. That's why I mentioned Paige. That's why I mentioned Starks. That's why I like Sammy Guevara. That's why I like Jungle Boy. All those people for sure. That for the hell? Well, anyway, I'm going to ignore that comment. Let's talk about the WWE because I've spent more time than I thought I would about this. WrestleMania will be coming up in April. And let's put the WrestleMania graphic up there right now. A lot of stuff going on, and it will take place in Inglewood, California. It will be April the 1st, April the 2nd, and Hollywood as WrestleMania goes Hollywood year number 39. These are the confirmed matches. Then I will tell you some of the speculated matches. For the Universal Championship, for all the world titles, Roman Reigns, about 900 days in to be the champion against Cody Rhodes fighting for Dusty. Then Charlotte Flair against Rhea Ripley. Yay. Then the Raw, that's the SmackDown Women's title. Then the Raw Women's title, Bianca Belair against Asuka. And I like Asuka, I really do. Then in an angle they did just last night. Watched it after our show went away. And I really thought the angle was great for the U.S. title. And this is an opportunity in WrestleMania to give Theory a rub. But you have to be careful about that if you want to use this again. Compelling television. Cena and Theory. Austin Theory, Cena, compelling. Brock Lesnar against Big Omos, not interested in that in the least. Then a match with Becky, Lita, Trish Stratus against Damage Control. Then Logan Paul, who I love, against Seth Rollins. Finn Balor will be in action against Edge. Speculated to have Rey Mysterio against Dominic Mysterio. It's expected to have the Usos against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And I can't read my daggum rest of my notes, but that's what's going on. The speculation for WrestleMania, for sure. Anyway, now I'm getting fussed at by one of my panel members and my producer. Anyway, that'll put me in a great mood, freaking people. My show, folks. My show. Anyway, let me look at these. Al Tuttle says if it wasn't for Roman and the bloodline, I probably wouldn't even watch. Cody has brought a new energy to the WWE. Here's the thing. The bloodline, when do you go back? The bloodline deal with the WWE is as good as a story that I've seen in a long time. It didn't just get good. It's been good and it's been building and it's been fantastic. I mean, it's been fantastic. The Sami Zayn stuff, I didn't see anything in them. Wrong. I didn't see anything in Kevin Owens except the guy for Austin to beat last year. And now look at him there. I didn't see the Usos about elevated at a point where they're top guys, but they are thanks to Roman. Roman's a generational talent, man. He really is. I respect him. He looks like he can kick your ass. He looks just fantastic. He works good. He talks good. He beat freaking leukemia twice, for Christ's sakes. It's just amazing. WrestleMania coming up, and it's coming up April the 1st and 2nd, and we'll let me catch my breath, and we'll give Chris Ellis the opportunity to talk about WrestleMania.
Well, I agree. I like Roman Reigns. You got to give him respect. He's helped establish other people. I do like Kevin Owens. I like Austin Fury. I like, there's different guys. Logan Paul. But see, I don't care for. They got 2 women's titles. I don't even think they need to have one, but that's my opinion.
And they have 3 feature matches of the women division.
Only thing that's where I was going.
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch either of the women's championship matches, but I'd watch Trish Stratus walk to the ring. So, I mean, if they just want to introduce Trish and have her walk to the ring, walk around the ring and walk back, I'll watch that part. I don't care about watching her wrestle, but I'll watch that. But so there's 3 matches. So there's 25 to 45 minutes of that show that I'm uninterested in as a wrestling fan. That's just me, just my opinion. Now, Cody, somebody's at, hey, Chris, is Cody the right person to defeat Roman? I don't think so.
I do.
I'm not a Cody fan.
I am.
Never been. I know you are. Never been a Cody fan. I'd let Roman keep carrying the belt because I think it's good that someone's almost reached 1,000 days as world champion instead of changing it to somebody all the time and constant. Of course, then the other thing is John Cena's still on the card, and I don't like John Cena. So I think it has a lot to do with personal preference. Though a lot of those are the same old faces and the same old places, and I don't like them, so I'm not as interested. Now there'll be parts of that I really like. The Cody and Roman match will be a good match. I just hope Roman goes over in the match, in my opinion.
Now, Scotty Mangrum and I agree 100%. I think the only guy, the right deal, I think certainly since the return from AEW, the injury and all that, sometime it comes to a point if you don't make the switch, and they paid Cody Rhodes a lot of money to leave AEW, and he has got over big time, and they have long-term things, and this is a strong story of doing it for his daddy. If he don't do it, where's their investment? Where's the payoff? What does that mean? He's done. I mean, he will not draw them money. He'll be what he was that he had the balls to leave because of. He left to go to the independents because he didn't like the way he was being portrayed. Then he went and started his own company. Then they paid him a fortune to come back. And this great storyline, whether I don't know if Cody has creative help on that, if it's all Hunter, I don't know if Vince is sneaking in on the side. I have no idea. I have no idea at all who's done it. But I can tell you right now, as somebody that's done this a long time, if they don't make that switch, they better make it awful damn good. They better do something major and do that something major with somebody that shocking. Have Goldust come back. Have Dustin Rhodes come in. But obviously he's with AEW. But to me, that's the only way to do it. The best match AEW ever had was on the first pay-per-view before they ever got TV was Dustin and Cody Rhodes. They always, both brothers, wanted to do a WrestleMania. So, Scotty Mangrum, there's you a deal. But again, Dustin works for AEW, and I don't know about the contract, but he's coming out the other. Everybody's involved. A big cluster FUCK going on wild, and Wooly, the Usos out, and Zayn and Owens, and all kind of typical Memphis thing. The people's up and down, boom, 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 bing, 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 going crazy, man. And then finally somebody goes to get on. Maybe Paul Heyman gets up on the apron and has the old telephone gimmick or something, or the belt or something to hit him with, and has it drawn back and going to do it. But here comes freaking Dustin Rhodes, or Gold Dust comes out, and he pulls that freaking Paul Heyman down, bumps him a little bit, and gets in the ring and looked like, what the heck, hugs his brother, and he goes to walk away, pulls out something, boom, blasting. Referee had been bumped. Referee comes up, 1, 2, 3. Then you got something. Then I could be convinced, hey, it won't kill him off. Then I'd say, hey, we got something here. We got a ton of heat on Dustin, and we got a classic match. That's Memphis booking, Jerry Jarrett booking, Jerry Lawler booking 101, folks. That's booking. It will work. Thoughts on that finish? And by the way, that's how, except for I would have used 1,016 F words, but that's how the bing, 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 bam, bam, bam. That's how one F word after another. That's how a finish is given by a real wrestling guy. And guess what? I'm a real wrestling guy. Chris, full screen.
Well, I do agree from the business side that Cody winning is smart. I 100% agree with that. What you said would be awesome, because I think that would really, they can push that through SummerSlam and really, build that and get another home run out of that. So I think that was all really good. Like I said, I think I'm looking at more from a personal fan side of what I like, what I'd like to see, and so forth. But now, who is the next person that can beat Roman if it's not Cody? So that's probably the direction they have to go. Although I could say they could get more than one big event out of it if it stayed with Roman. They might could get one, two, three big pay-per-views out of it, in my opinion. Of course, WrestleMania is their Super Bowl, and I get that too. So, I just, like I said, that's a personal preference. That's just the way I personally feel about it. It don't mean it's right. And like, you got a lot more experience doing it than what I do, obviously. So I defer to you on as far as the booking part of it.
Yeah, and I was 100. See, that's the cool thing that's taught people out. When it was first, if you take this video back and watch it, when it was first broached, I thought it was the stupidest thing in my life. To that, and it would kill him deader than Kelsey's nuts. That's another wrestling term, Bill Dundee term, deader than Kelsey's nuts. Well, I've never heard of who Kelsey is, and I don't know nothing about Kelsey's nuts, but still, that's a pro wrestling term right there. So I'm teaching people stuff for sure. Now, PJ says it will be too good to be true for Cody to beat Roman this WrestleMania. They just have to have a good finish. They just have to have a good finish, and it would work. Change my mind quickly for sure. Now, what you looking forward to, folks? What are you looking forward to of WrestleMania? Do you think this year's WrestleMania is as attractive as last year's? I tell you, what sold me last year was Steve Austin. To me, absolutely 100%. That's what got me last time, and I don't think it's that, but I think they're going more with their crew, with people there every week, and add a few people here or there for sure. And Nick Oates says, Mania has a history of putting over the babyface as champ with Daniel Bryan and Kofi. So Cody doing it, not. And Cody is something like Kofi and Daniel Bryan was just happened. It wasn't the promotion won't go that way. The promotion wanted to go that way. A lot of people wanted Sammy, and I wouldn't have done that at all for sure. For sure. As Nicholas said, the only match I gave for is Roman versus Cody this year, honestly. And I have to look at the card again to see if there's anything. Oh, Logan Paul and Seth Rollins. I think I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And Stone Cold did have a great comeback match, and that was fantastic for
RH.
For sure. Yes, sir.
I got a guy asked me a question. Said, "What do I have against women wrestlers?" And let me explain to that whoever asked that question. The era that I grew up in, women wrestlers were a novelty, just like midget wrestlers are now politically correct.
We can't say that no more.
Okay, vertically challenged wrestlers. Okay, whatever. I'm short myself, so I'd be in a midget wrestling now. Anyway, but my point is, they were a novelty. They come through the territory, and Joyce Grable would wrestle whoever or whatever, and nobody really cared. You weren't invested in them. They weren't on every week. You didn't. So I didn't learn to like that when I was young. So I haven't learned to like modern wrestling, but that doesn't do anything for me. Now, I have other opinions, but due to my role, I can't expand on them. But there's just certain things that they can and can't do in a ring. Like when I watch them fight in a ring, like wrestling to me is still a fight. And I watch a fight from like Lawler and Dundee were fighting when I was young. It looked like a fight. And Roman Reigns fighting Cody is going to look like a fight. And MJF wrestling Bryan Danielson looks like a fight. But they don't look that way to me. That's just me. It's because that's what I was brought up on and what I liked and didn't like. So I just never evolved into that. And, I don't, all that nonsense, I just don't get.
All right. As Jeff Wheeler asked that question, so we got the question. Now, Mark is wanting to know update on Jerry Lawler. I think he's doing better. I have not talked to him, and I hadn't heard an update recently. So last I heard, it was going in the right direction. Now, we talked earlier, 86 got in office for the first time. 87, Jerry Jarrett started taking back over the book. It was a program that had started while Lawler was booking in 86, and it carried on to the Jerry Jarrett booking. And it was a videotape that we're going to open up now with. And certainly, what time is it, folks? We are an hour and 8 minutes into this show with no video. But right now, we're going to Idle and Rich injuring Jerry Lawler. This video right now will show with Chris Ellis, Adam Dunn, and myself, Randy Hills, talking Memphis Wrestling. We'll watch this video right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're interrupting our regular championship wrestling program because of an incident that was of such magnitude that I know that as wrestling fans you'll want to know about it. Jerry Lawler was scheduled to go in 2 separate matches on the same evening, one with Wildfire Tommy Rich, the other with Austin Idol, the Universal Heartthrob, on the same evening with these two gentlemen in a situation in the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, as the matches took place, an incident occurred while Idol was in the ring with Jerry the King Lawler. Let's go now to some videotape and take a look at the incident that took place. Here it is. In the corner again, Rich goes after Lawler. Referee Jerry Calhoun shoved down hard by happened. Look out! Oh, no. Rich on one leg, Idol on the other, and they slam Lawler, straddle that ring post. Well, certainly not an incident that anyone should be proud of. Double team of Lawler in a what may be a career-ending injury. Now, just to be perfectly honest, to tell you what happened, the diagnosis was a ruptured. Jerry had to undergo surgery on Tuesday morning. The outcome and what it's going to affect on his career, we don't know at this time. We'll have to hear from the doctors later. Randy Hales at the Mid-South Coliseum, following that incident, tried to get an interview with Austin Idol and Tommy Rich. Let's take a listen to what happened.
Hey, I wanted to get the cameras back here in the dressing room of the Mid-South Coliseum to talk to Idol and Rich about the disgusting thing they did to Jerry Lawler. Hey, we want to talk to you guys about what happened, Tommy Rich and Austin Idol. What happened?
Tell you something. Get out of here, Red. You come in this room by invitation only. Get out!
Well, there it is. Jerry Lawler is out of wrestling action now. And for how long? Well, the doctors will have to tell us after the operation. I can tell you this, that the commission reviewed the incident that took place. Austin Idol and Tommy Rich, each one has been fined $2,500 as a result of it. And there may be other actions, disciplinary, that will take place following that. But that's the situation as of this moment.
Yeah, to answer, I believe, Frank, there was I'm not going to get into personal details, but yes, it was where Lawler could have to have surgery. Watching that back for the first time in a long, long time, Chris, what did you think?
Oh, I obviously remember when it happened the first time, and remember how shocked I was that it did happen. It's just funny how they booked all that and worked all that story as it went and sequenced it all together. Just amazing how that all worked back in those days, and the brains behind all that, the thought process. It's really fascinating to me, and how they worked in, as you said, the King had surgery, and how they worked that all into the storyline and made it all fit and make sense. And it's just a fantastic job of booking back then.
Now, the interviewer, as PJ says, the young interviewer, that young interviewer was 26 years old, Chris. 26 years old. One of the first steps in living my dream. I wouldn't say one of the first steps. The first step was selling pictures of Eddie Marlin. Got me in the door, but still, that's very interesting. And to see that in 1987, that was good video at all. One question to you earlier, that Nicholas, my buddy from California, and it's so good, I want him on the show sometime soon too. Nick, we got to get you where you're not shy. You're a California dude. I know you're not shy. You couldn't be shy. You make a great guest, because I want to talk about you're growing up watching wrestling. I'd like to have you on the Randy Hale show, because that show is interactive, and I like to take it in a different way. He asked the question, what you think about using weapons and violent matches?
Well, everything has a limit. The weapons like chairs and chains and things of that nature, I think add to the match. It adds to the balance of the match. It sells the balance of the match. But now the ECW stuff with the thumbtacks and the light bulbs and all that junk, that's over the top and unnecessary, in my opinion. Pulling a chain, having the thing on your thumb, like Abdullah used to have, or the Sheik used to have, or Lawler pulled chains, Lawler threw fire, Sheik threw fire, chairs. The Moondogs used to have boards, and I thought that all added to the story and the gimmick. But all like the ECW stuff was over the top. in my, like Bully Ray and Devon, get the tables. I mean, that's too much. I think there's a line to everything.
Yeah, very, very good point. One thing that I was just thinking about the other day on the Randy Hill show, Liza asked me my opinion, and that's just a very interesting show. And we do talk about wrestling on that show, but he asked an interesting question. He has aspirations of being a booker and being a wrestling promoter, and he wanted to know my advice. So I made a detailed long, because there's much more to it than fantasy booking. It really is. It's absolutely much more to it. And just like armchair quarterbacks and just like people in the audience at a football game or a baseball game or a basketball game basically doing the coaching, you're not the person on the hot seat. Sure, I do it too. Get mad at the referees, get mad at the coaches. It's part of it. Chris is in that business, and I'm sure that he's made people mad for not playing a particular person or making a call they disagree with. It's a part. But that person, no way was he educated like Chris was educated, and no way that most people can stand up to that fire. Real quick, briefly respond to that.
Well, I mean, the person in the arena, the person in the leadership position has to have the confidence to do what needs to be done and not block out the noise, block out the criticism. I do it every day. I do it on the floor as a referee. I did it as a coach. You did it as a booker. Now, in the booking thing or promoting racing or whatever, you have to listen a little bit to your fan base to get a pulse of what direction you may need to go to draw people to attend, because selling tickets is important. But all in all, you got to have the confidence and the belief in yourself that, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in what I'm doing. I have a plan, and just block out the criticism because it's going to come.
I want to respond to Jeff Wheeler. Let's get his comment about the blood up there, and I'll read the comment, Adam, if you don't mind. If we can get Jeff Wheeler's comment out there. If you're going to use weapons, then you have to have color, and you don't see that anymore. Stop catering to the kids and bring back color. Well, it's a corporate decision that the WWE made to go with the tamed down product as far away from the Attitude Era. It's worked for them. Now they want to sell it for $9 billion. $9 billion. $9 billion. So it works for them. Now, AEW, certainly run by a fan of Territory Wrestling, Mid-South Wrestling, Crockett Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and a big fan of the WWE too. Tony Khan likes blood. I think the WWE don't do it enough. I think having some matches like barbed wire matches and cage matches and not having blood, just the believability of that is out the window. However, to me, AEW does too much blood. They do too much blood. I'm getting in my opinion here, too much blood. They also too much profanity. Some blood, great. Some profanity. Back in the day, saying hell was great. I mean, it could work. It could absolutely work. As Mr. Johnson says, really appreciate you both and both your time with thoughts on pro wrestling and booking and that sort of thing. And you get two different perspectives. And normally the show with Michael St. John, you get the experienced broadcaster perspective. And Pat a lot of times can add the money deal in, being a lifetime banker. And then Chris, same background of me, of seeing the best stuff that you can see. Both absolutely. Houses I wish WWE would use blood as well, but AEW has used it enough for everyone, and they do use it too much for matches without blood is is just absolutely crazy. We're getting a lot of comments. However, we want to play, and I think what we'll do is we'll play this next tape, and it's a little bit of everything in this feud, several different things, and we'll comment. Then I'll of the information I wrote down and some of the talent you'll see. Certainly, we'll talk about their ages and a little bit about their background. Run through that real quick. But right now, we will go back. Lawler out for revenge after being gone for quite a while. That devastating injury at the Mid-South Coliseum. Let's watch this. Lawler going after a revenge.
Well, one of the things that I think the wrestling world continues to talk about is an event that, frankly, we never thought that we would see happen, and that was when Jerry the King Lawler ended up losing his hair in a hair match with Austin Idol, and a prominent role played by Wildfire Tommy Rich. Let's recap that incident for you. Lawler with the cover, but where's the referee? He's hurt. Who is it? Tommy Rich. Where in the world did Rich come from? The gate is still locked. Tommy Rich pile driving Jerry Lawler. Austin Idol. Where did he? I didn't even see him. It was again Rich. The cage door locked. Lawler slammed down. It's still locked.
The cage is still locked, Lance.
I know it. I looked around at the referee to see what Lawler was going to do after the pile driver on. Idol evidently thought of every contingency because Tommy Rich appears from nowhere. Idol pulls the referee over. Lawler is down. Count of one. Count of two. Count of three, and the King has lost the hair match to Austin Idol. 18 minutes, 17.
First of all, I'd like to say it feels real good to be back here on television again. The King is back. I want to tell you that right now. And I'm sure most of you probably would rather me be in the ring here today, wrestling here in the studio. And personally, I would too. But when I heard that Tommy Rich was going to be here live in the studio today, I thought, well, things could get out of hand. You know, these television cameras cost several $100,000, and this studio would cost me a fortune if it were to get torn to pieces. So I said, King, you better not show up. You better just send an interview. So that's what I'm doing, because I'm going to save what I got in store for Tommy Rich until I get him face-to-face in the ring. Now, let me just say a few words about my little appearance here today. I'm sure Tommy Rich, Austin Idol, Paul Dangerly are surprised that I'd show my face here on television. I guess they thought if I got my head shaved that I'd be ashamed to show my face, that I'd be out here maybe with a mask on or with a hat or cap or something like that. But you see, Tommy Rich, Austin Idol, Paul Dangerly, I'm not ashamed to show my face. Because I know, and all the wrestling fans know, that Austin Idol wasn't man enough to shave my head by himself. It took Paul Dangerly, and it took you, Tommy Rich, hiding up under the ring to come out to get the job done. And that's why I'm not ashamed. That's why every morning when I get up and I look at this head in a mirror, all it does is make me angry. All it does is serve as a reminder. And I want to tell you something, Tommy Rich. All that anger is going to come out when I get face-to-face with you in the ring. Now, let me just say this. You know, while I was off, I had plenty of time to think, and I had to be around town a little bit. And one day, I took my car, I took a little drive to the store. I went inside. When I came out, this note was under my windshield wiper. It's from a young lady by the name of Gwen Ivy. And it reads like this. Dear Jerry, I realize you don't know me, but I've watched you ever since day one. Your beginning. Every Saturday I tuned in to watch you wrestle. Now, I didn't want to stop you and bother you with a lot of questions, but you see, Jerry, everything that's been happening to you lately you used to do to everybody else. You used to do everything dirty that you could think of. Everybody loved to hate you because you were the best at being dirty. Remember when you posed as an old lady wanting Jerry Jarrett's autograph? Now that was dirty. You'd use fire, chains, sticks, etc. People loved it. Now in order to get back and stay like you were then, you got to start thinking that way again. You've started to get weak, Jerry. Austin Idol and Tommy Rich know that. No one could have done the old King like they've done to you. They would be too afraid. So wake up, Jerry Lawler. Now, Gwen, I want to thank you for this letter, because it has done that. I want you to know, Gwen, and I want all the wrestling fans to know, and most importantly, I want Austin Idol and Paul Dangerly and Tommy Rich to know that the old King is awake. Now, Tommy Rich, I've made myself a little list, and your name just happens to be at the top of it. And I'm going to take care of them. Paul Dangerly, Austin Idol, Tommy Rich, one by one. And I understand, Austin Idol, that you got a title match with Bill Dundee, the superstar who said he's so upset that he wasn't the man that shaved my head. Well, let me tell you something, Austin Idol. You're on my list. And another thing on my list is getting that Southern belt back around my waist. And I really don't care who has it. If it happens to be on Dundee, like I said, I'll just add another name to that list. So Tommy Rich, Idol, Paul Dangerly, I want you to know this. The old King has forgotten more dirty tricks than either of you punks will ever know. So when I get in that ring with you, Tommy Rich, I promise you this, and I promise all the old King fans that I'm awake. I'm back. And Tommy Rich, you don't have a whole lot of time left. So you better be looking over your shoulder, punk. Because sometime when you least expect it, somebody's going to step up to you. And it's going to be the old King. So you better be ready.
He's got to say here, I'll tell you better be listening to it. Tommy,
I was all dressed up, no place to go, and I thought I'd stop in and see you lads, you know. Do you a favor, brother. You know, it's been a long time since I've been to Memphis, Tennessee, right here on TV. I wanted all the people to get a chance to look at Tommy Rich. Got the long, pretty hair, looking real good today. Looking real good. A lot of pretty ladies out here already. Hear that? Where is Jerry Lawler? Where is the King, man? I mean, that is the big question. You know, first we heard him, he was gone. Told Jerry Lawler, told him he was going to get his hair cut. Told him I was going to be the man to do it. Jerry Lawler, the man's in town. I'm back and I'm back to stay. Jerry Lawler, your past tense, your history. Sit back. You listen to the crowd, man. When they holler for Austin Idol. They hollering for Tommy Rich. Go, Tommy, go. Go, Austin, go. The King is through, baby. The King is through. Memphis, Tennessee don't need you no more, man. Don't you understand, Jerry? You told me that yourself, Lance. You told me you thought Lawler was washed out.
Oh, come on, Tommy.
Now, hey, don't call me no liar now. Hey, well, what did you say? He said, well, basically that's what you meant, though, right? Yeah, okay, you said yes. See there? Okay, another thing. You know, like I said, Jerry the King Lawler, history. We cut his hair now. He don't even have the guts to show up here at TV. I mean, he's talking about, you know, he's talking about he could have put a mask on. He could have this, that, and the other. Well, why didn't he do it? He does not have the guts, Lance, to come down here and see Tommy.
He was full-faced on camera. He isn't ashamed of it. He didn't want to do it, take some damage.
He talked for about 10 minutes sitting at home, didn't have the guts to come see.
You got to get in the ring. Oh, what a pleasure to have Tommy Wildfire Rich. Okay. Tommy going in against a youngster from Minneapolis. Dave?
That's John Paul out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, going against Wildfire Tommy Rich. What is this at ringside? Oh! Tommy Rich being pounded by the King.
He was just talking about that. Lawler in a dress. Backdrops Tommy. Rich on the run. Lawler right after him.
Lawler in a dress came up to ringside as if to ask Tommy for his autograph. And he got him.
Oh, boy, Lawler. Well, I guess it's going to have to be a disqualification on John Paul with the interference in there.
I don't think he'll mind too much.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Back again. The King. We're going to be back in just a moment.
Talking Memphis Wrestling on a Tuesday. And I really want you to think. I want you to think about what we talked about today, whether it was the modern wrestling stuff or we got into the meat of the matter. We got into what this show is all about, and that is talking and watching Memphis wrestling. I wish we had new wrestling fans, modern wrestling fans. I wish we had people that didn't grow up on Memphis wrestling. And a lot of you that did, I want you to step back. And Chris, I want you to step back in the day, back in a golden era, back in a beautiful, beautiful era in time. This is what wrestling business is all about. Everything about that, from the haircut to the reaction of the people in the audience. The heels had heat, real heat that would get you attacked, heat that the people would like that baby face so much that they'd risk getting their ass kicked or risk going to jail to help their hero. Ain't no better heel there's ever been in this business, period, than Jerry Lawler. And when you talk about baby faces and when you talk about baby face in one particular area, nobody, not anybody in any territory, and even in any country, in any place, was loved or hated, depending on the year, as much as Jerry Lawler. He was hated so much, he would have never got over as much as he got over without that heel run. And then he was the hero and was loved by people. That was magic. That was a thing of beauty. That was great, and not just Lawler. From Lance Russell, from Dave Brown to Paul Lee, before he was Paul Lee, before, including Tommy Rich, Austin Idol, the referee Jerry Calhoun, the fans, everything. That was perfection. The business has been exposed. Thanks to people like me that is Inside Wrestling Show. But that is the beauty of the business. That is the beauty. And let's talk about promos. And MJF does great promos. I've recently heard Roman Reigns doing great promos. Cody Rhodes doing great promos. I'm not taking anything away. But that promo, sitting down in his living room, that Jerry Lawler did, that we just saw, was absolutely unbelievable. The shock of that cage match. And somebody asked the question, was the trap door? No, there wasn't a trap door. There was an apron on the ring, around the ring. And so at 4:30 in the afternoon, before the people got there, as Randy West was taking his television equipment out there, and Tommy Rich was on the little wheelie thing with everything, and there was a box over, and Tommy Rich was underneath the box. Randy raised the box, and nobody was there in the building anyway. Tommy snuck under there, and he was there all night long to about 10:45 at night when they did the finish. Bought him a case of beer, and there we went. Did that angle. We'll get to Chris in a minute, but the crowd was so upset. Their hero, their king, their beloved neighbor, the king got screwed, and it got nasty. We're going to show about a real short clip right now. Real short, quick clip. I want you to pay attention to it. This is what wrestling is supposed to be. How mad this crowd was. We saw a little bit of it, but just concentrate as we watch this real short clip. Adam, go ahead. There you go. Around 10,000 people. And every one of them, you saw Paulie, you saw me, but they wanted to kill Idol and Rich for doing that dirty deed. They wanted to kill them, people. Can you relate to that? Can you even believe in any scenario a crowd be like that? Now it'll never happen because we've smartened everybody's asses up. It's sad. It can make me tear up and make me cry. The beauty of the wrestling business can't be done anymore. Now, I remember that night. I remember 30, 35 minutes after that match took place, they stayed in the ring because they felt safe in that ring, in that cage. Finally, they had to go home sometime. They had to go back sometime. And so they did the thing. It's one of the most scariest deals I've ever seen in my life. Thoughts there, Chris?
Well, Randy, you said it right. Now, the death of kayfabe killed those moments like that. Watching you run back with Rich and Idol, and you and the officers were put in that because those fans, like you said, they wanted to kill them. And when you think back to they were willing, like you said, willing to go to jail, willing to get hurt to help their hero. And the only time I can think of another situation like that, Junkyard Dog had been blinded by Michael Hayes, and he could see through the gauze on his eyes, and a guy jumped the rail and pulled a gun on Michael Hayes, going to shoot him because he was coming after Dog, and Dog was blinded. So those are the two stories. Anytime I tell people and try to educate them about the reality of wrestling from those days, I use those two episodes, the one we just saw and the story I just told. The fans believed it. They bought into it. They believed the king got screwed. He'd already been hurt by him. He's hurt by him again, got his haircut. And I'm going to say 9,900 of the 10,000 people were for him. And I often wondered how Idol and Rich got out of the building, because I figured those fans stayed around outside. They had to sneak, like get down in the back floorboard or do something to get out of there, I would assume. I mean, I don't know that, but I would assume they had to.
Yeah, it was a scary, scary, scary thing. And I appreciate Chris for those comments. Now, real quick, I just want to give some background information here as we'll talk about some of the talents, some of the wrestlers, some of the legends we talked about, and certainly some we'll talk about before the show is over. I want to talk about Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett was born July the 14th, 1967. Jerry Lawler is 73 years old. Austin Idol is 73 years old. Tommy Rich is 66 years old. Paul Heyman is 57 years old. We will talk in a few minutes about Nick Bockwinkel, my favorite world champion of all time. Him and Harley Race, tit for tat. But I love Nick Bockwinkel. He was born on December 6, 1934, passed away November the 14th, 2015, at 80 years old. Nick debuted as a pro wrestler, the son of a wrestler. Warren Bockwinkel debuted in 1954. He retired in 1993. His certainly his debut match against Jerry Lawler took place in Memphis, Tennessee, when the AWA came to Memphis and we started recognizing the AWA title. That took place. The very first Nick Bockwinkel appearance was August the 2nd, 1978, August the 21st, 1978, drawing 11,100 people. I thought this was very, very, very interesting that Nick Bockwinkel's very last match was a part of WCW Slamboree. It took place May the 23rd, 1993. May the 23rd, 1993, Nick Bockwinkel in a legend match against Dory Funk Jr. In later years, he was the president of the Cauliflower Alley Club, lived the last decades of his life in Las Vegas. He held the AWA World Heavyweight Championship 4 times. The 3 times he held the AWA Championship with Ray Steven. He first defeated Vern Gagne for the AWA title, and he was 80 years old. Now, what I like for Adam to do, because I got kind of carried away and emotional and just fired up, not emotional at all, because it was so beautiful to see. I want to catch up, Adam, go back 6, 7, 8 comments, because I certainly, especially, I feel bad that I sometimes ignore, especially when we got new people to come on. This show wouldn't be what this show was without some of our newer people. And I want to go back and I will read it, comments, and acknowledge Team Hales. Team Hales. Team Hales, by the way, as Jeff Wheeler says, that's crazy that Rich stayed under there for 5+ hours for a 50-minute brawl that drew a ton of money in every town in the territory.
Hey, RH, can you tell us what the payoff was for Rich for 15 minutes?
I have no idea. I probably knew at one time, but I would just be guessing. As I missed one comment there is Ron Crowder says hello to us, and we say hello to them, as also the King beat Kurt Hennig to become unified champion. No, that certainly that's not true. Said that he beat Kurt Hennig to win the AWA World Heavyweight Championship several months after that in Chicago with the big Super Clash. He unified the AWA title, the USWA title, and the World Class World Heavyweight Championship to become the unified champion against Kerry Von Erich. So that's the correct information there, Melinda. We had Greg Wayne watching the show earlier, and I think we're staying too late for him to stay up, but he says everything went well, and he is doing well for sure. The next thing we're going to do, and Chris, because I know you get up at 5, even though I get up at 4, you get up at 5, and I am a little older than you, but still, I'm a wrestling business guy, and this ain't my first rodeo, so I understand if you don't want to stay for 20 more minutes as we really get deep down, and I will show you a Mac classic in psychology, and a veteran talent leading a rookie. And we'll show a 20-minute Nick Bockwinkel, Jeff Jarrett match, and that took place in 1987. That was just absolutely fantastic. Lawler was hurt, so Lawler had a AWA World Title match with Nick Bockwinkel scheduled, and he couldn't do it because he was injured, and so he wanted Jeff to get the chance, and the AWA agreed to do that. So certainly we have a 20-minute match coming up. So whether you want to stay for that or not, that's fine. But I want you up to this point, as we've already covered to death modern wrestling. The last 30 minutes of the show, we really covered this one era of Memphis wrestling that was so good. So just to sum that up, then tell me if you're going to stay or go. Okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I want to slide out, which I love being on, but yeah, early in the morning, got a lot to do. But what I would really say, I appreciate all of our people, all of our fans that come on, support the show. It's great to interact and to get to share something that we love and so passionate about. What I really hate, there's some really cool stuff about modern wrestling that we discussed, and I like some of it. But I hate the emotion you just showed a while ago and the love I had for that same thing, that we can't share that with people today because it's gone. The wrestling business is gone. There is sports entertainment. We still call it wrestling. But with the loss of kayfabe, we don't have the ability to have those emotions from all the people we share Memphis wrestling with. They cannot understand how deeply invested we were, emotionally invested, how much we live for it, how people, you set alarms on your phone now. You set alarms back then to 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. Your butt's in front of Channel 5 or Channel 13 before that. But my point is, they can't get the emotional relationship that we had back then with each other as fans, with the wrestlers, because the psychology and the mindset of kayfabe doesn't exist anymore. And I'm sad. I'm sad for them that they didn't get to live it. And I'm thankful that I did.
And I'm thankful we get the opportunity to teach these lessons and show this history every week with Michael St. John, Chris Ellis, Pat Trammell, the whole gang, Adam Dunn producing, and in an entertaining way, in a beautiful production way. I'm proud of the show. Now, I'll leave you with this, Chris. I'll leave you with this. Take the glasses off again. Hold on. I know what you're thinking. ORH has a flashback. ORH has a flashback to his Wild West days, the flashback to the days that trying to be a rock star. That's not it at all. Let me tell you, I was thirsty because I've talked a lot on this show. This is what I'm drinking right here. Can you read that, Chris?
What? Pineapple, orange, banana juice.
Yes. Pineapple, orange, and banana. Man, that is good. Thank you, Chris. We'll see you next Tuesday night, buddy.
All right. Thank y'all. Glad to be on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, pal. Put up Al's comment right now, if you would, as I appreciate Assistant Superintendent, Southside School in Jonesboro, Arkansas. As Al says, we were a sport of then, Chris. These guys were living legend at the time we were watching, bigger than life personalities, and we just don't have that today. So great comments. By the way, a little information to Pat. I will be on the front row with Bud Rowe. The first part of my show, there's a Jonesboro High School state championship game, and the only time he can get the coach in there or on the phone to do an interview is the first part of my segment. So maybe, who knows, it'll be interesting video or interesting phone conversation. The Power Hour on the front row with Bud Rowe every single week on Wednesday at 9 Central. And if you want to call in to the show again, it may be 9:30 before we can take calls because we have Coach Wes Swift, and you can call at 870-930-3776, 870-930-3776. You can listen at www.953theticket.com. You can do that, and I did put that, 953 theticket.com. I see only a profile picture. Adam, can you come on real quick, or are you where you can't have access to your camera right now? He's getting ready, folks.
Yeah.
He's getting set.
I'm here.
Here he comes. So going back, question number one, 1987, right? That's what we covered today. Another time, another era. I want you to tell everybody what year you were born.
85.
So you were 2 years old.
Right.
2 years old. So what do you think about that master class? What do you think about that video we use to teach a lesson today? So do you think we made our point?
Yeah, I definitely do think that you made the point. And, you know, I'm kind of a weird in the middle. You know, I'm not as old school as you guys. I'm not into the new stuff that's going on now. My heyday of wrestling for me was in the 90s. You know, for you guys, it was the 70s and the 80s. So I kind of fall in a weird little time there in between where Channel 5 wrestling was wrapping up. So what my, memories, firsthand memories of what I know is a lot different than you guys. Everything that's older classic stuff I've had to go back and watch later. And thank goodness we have stuff like YouTube and things like that now to be able to go back and watch it. And I certainly appreciate all that type of stuff and seeing, you know, just to think, you know, everybody kind of has mentioned it several times tonight, but just the fact that Tommy Rich out there under the ring for hours just to have that one little spot, but just, man, how much mileage they got out of that, and then the return from it when Lawler came back. Just, man, such great stuff. Like I say, it's, you know, we've said it before, but just, you know, and made the reference to it many times. The toothpaste is out of the tube now with wrestling, but I still think sometimes we can get those emotions. They aren't the same emotions, but there's sometimes, you know, we can still watch wrestling today, and it's just maybe we know now more what to call the emotion than we did then. But now we can be like, man, that was a really good promo, or man, that was good. It's just, I think now it's more, before we didn't question if it was real or not. Now we can watch something and maybe the question we ask is, was that real or not? Was that a work or not? And I think when you can ask that question and have that feeling, it kind of gives you almost that same feeling that we used to have back in the day when that wasn't even a question that we asked.
Ron Crowder had said a few things, and I want to tell you, Ron, that you missed a lot of the show on my YouTube channel, and Adam will put that information up for you with the caption. YouTube.com/@RandyHales, my YouTube.
Right.
Within 30 minutes of this show being over, the entire show will be up there. Certainly you can subscribe to that. Also, Ron says, I just turned 62, a year older than me, about a month ago. I believe me and Randy is about the same age, roughly. I will turn 62 on December the 10th. Melinda says the wrestling in the 80s were a lot better than it is now, for sure. So just want everybody to make sure they check up with the archives. Certainly, I think a proof is in the pudding about comparing things, and it will never go back to them because everybody's smartened up. We're on worst enemy. That is for sure. Check out all my social media. Now, I'll tell you how good Jeff Jarrett is. Jeff Jarrett started in the wrestling business. Of course, he was born in it, but started as a 18-year-old kid in 1986. Started as a referee. He was lucky to be 160 pounds. Lucky to be 160 pounds. Did the angle that led to a sellout. Then the matches with Tony Falk that we showed you in the last few weeks. All that was great. He was certainly going to be the number 2 babyface in the territory. As I said earlier, Jerry Jarrett was so smart because he took a year off because he didn't want Jeff to have heat with with the boys. He really didn't. And Daddy's the little boy and that sort of thing. And the talent knows Lawler. When Lawler was booking, Lawler was booking. In later years, when I was booking, I was booking. And Jerry Jarrett was, give him absolutely, rest in peace, I'll give him the credit, man. He didn't interfere. He just absolutely wouldn't have gone out and I had a he'll say GD or the F word. He would have interfered with that, would have fired me. But just creative situations every week. He was a hands-on guy. Jeff worked with a lot of great talent. He teamed with Pat Tanaka, teamed with Billy Travis, teamed with Paul Diamond. He wrestled all three of those guys. He had his first single feud later on with Moondog Spot. He learned all kinds of different styles. We saw the most heated angle ever. We had Akio Sato and Tarzan Goto, and Sato was that veteran that really was married to Jeff in the ring for 6-7 months, and Jeff gives him credit. He was ready. So when it came to it, less than a year of being a professional wrestler, Jeff Jarrett against Nick Bockwinkel. I want to let everybody know, because sometimes I don't say this enough, and then I think when you're watching a video and you make a comment or ask me a question and I don't respond to that, you think I'm just being rude. What happens is on this particular, it's different on Monday where we load the show different. Different here. When we play video on the Tuesday show, I cannot talk. Adam can't talk. The panel can't talk. Nobody can talk to after the video's over. So we still want your comments, and we'll try to catch up with them after the video is over. This is 20 minutes. Adam, do you have? It's getting later. Do you have 20 minutes, or do I need to get us off the air? It's your call.
Whichever.
Well, you can at least start us. If you go away, just tell me you're going. If you want to stay, you stay, because it is 9 o'clock. And let me look at this note, because it's almost 21 minutes, 20 minutes and 55 seconds. I want you to really think of this scenario. Jeff Jarrett in there. Listen to Lance. Watch the referee. Watch Nick Bockwinkel. Absolutely 180% leading Jeff through it. But the good thing in Jeff's part, he came through. This is 1987. This is May of 1987. I think I'm right on that date. And this was phenomenal. This was for the AWA World Title. Nick Bockwinkel, Jeff Jarrett, as we watch, and we'll see you back here in 20 minutes.
Nick Bockwinkel calls for the bell, and we're off and running. This, if I ever heard a real-life Rocky
Rocky Balboa story. Boy, this is it. Jeff Jarrett, a youngster who has been in the professional wrestling business officially about a year, from Hendersonville, Tennessee, getting an opportunity as a substitute challenger for the world title. Jeff Jarrett against Nick Bockwinkel. Jerry Lawler had earned the right to go against Bockwinkel by winning the AWA Southern Heavyweight title. And Lawler and Bockwinkel have had some of those classic matches. Lawler got injured in a match I think you're familiar with Tommy Rich and Austin Idol, inflicting a concussion as well as a haircut, I might add that. Lawler himself called the championship committee and requested that rather than Bockwinkel pick up a free night, if they would consider Jarrett, though he was not ranked as a heavyweight challenger, as a substitute. Ultimately, after a couple of calls, the championship committee did agree, and Bockwinkel just slammed the young fella in the middle of the ring. It'll be interesting to see. There's not a whole lot of money backing Jeff Jarrett. I don't mean to belittle his opportunity, but the truth of the matter is, Bockwinkel, 4 times the world heavyweight champion. Boy, he's met and defeated the very best in the world for a number of years. His attitude is such that at times it's a little confusing if you happen to think he is just totally cocky. Look at Jarrett. He's using what he's got to, that speed over the top. Flying press, and he gets Nick off his feet. Well, there's the first accomplishment. He surprised Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel, I can assure you, is going to be surprised by the speed of this kid. Boy, he is quick. And we've said it a dozen times. You're tired of hearing it, I'm sure, but he is pure athlete. Outstanding basketball player, though he does not have the height normally associated with outstanding basketball players. Great athletic ability, good instinct, has had superior schooling, you might even say subliminally. His father, as you obviously know, Jerry Jarrett, the owner of Jarrett Promotions. Whoa, look at a nice move. Nick goes into the ropes. He is rolled up. 1. But he gets out and comes up a little dismayed to see this golden-haired kid pull a couple of maneuvers on him that he never expected. Nick walks over, very quietly takes the towel and wipes his hands off. He's thinking this one out. You never know when you're the champion. Every night they gun for you. Tonight is no exception. Bockwinkel, a prohibitive favorite in the match. Side mare on Jarrett. He's over and down, trying to kick his way loose, make certain that his right shoulder comes up. Nick, while he is confident to the point of being cocky, has a class about him that even his detractors admire. Nick trying to use that superior weight advantage to just pull Jarrett's shoulders, but he can't keep both of them down at one time. This pesky little challenger ripping that shoulder up and won't let Bockwinkel come out of there with a pin. Into the ropes. The shoulder puts him down. And again, Bockwinkel right back in side mare. 5 minutes past 55 to wrestle. 5 past 55 to wrestle. Bockwinkel makes no bones about it. I do what it takes to keep the world title around my waist. I mean, it's just that simple. Bockwinkel can wrestle. But boy, let me tell you, he can street fight too. You don't go around the world fighting the variety of challengers that Bockwinkel does, keeping the title, winning it back the way Bockwinkel has, by being a pussycat. Bockwinkel is a lion. Sometimes I don't like what he does, but he never forgets, and he never lets you forget. He is the world champion, and brother, you gotta beat me. Count of 1 as Jeff was popped over and down again. Nick taking his time. I think the 2 little moves that Jarrett surprised him with, it irritated Nick that he was, well, I don't know, caught napping is exactly the word, but I kind of saw it that way. And he is, in a workmanlike manner, handling the young champion right at the moment. We're sitting here looking at the big gold World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship belt that Bockwinkel takes tremendous pride in. Jeff drives up to his feet. And he slips in. Look at that leapfrog. Down underneath this time. Hey, he's got him. Beautiful. Again. Body slams the champion. And Nick says, hold it, hold it. Rolls out of the ring. As Bockwinkel caught again by surprise. The first time, Jeff went over the top with a big leapfrog. Beautiful. The next time, he ducked down underneath him where Nick had to jump over him. Caught him, hip-tossed him twice, picked him up rather and slammed him twice. Nick took to the floor. 8 minutes in, plenty of time left. One of the noticeable physical features of Jeff Jarrett, and we pointed that out before too, is the powerful legs. Got quite a vertical leap in basketball. Look at this. Bockwinkel again trying to just force the shoulders down by sheer weight and power. And Jarrett, you can better believe one thing. He's going to have to be in a position where it's life-threatening before he gives this up. He came in, filling in for Lawler, at Lawler's personal request, and he is going to make the most of his opportunity tonight. Referee saying you're in the ropes, Nick, back it up. And Bockwinkel drives back. Oh, boy. He drilled him with a forearm uppercut. Jeff out of the way, and Nick slips into the ropes turnbuckle and right at the post. May have hurt his shoulder over there. Jeff trying to get right back at. Wait a minute. The referee saying, hold it. I don't know why. Now he says wrestle. Jeff was trying to take advantage of Nick's shoulder being hurt and get back at him. Nick sticking out that right arm. Wants to keep Jeff away from that shoulder. He grabs it but slips around. Nice. Speed again goes to a top wrist lock, and Bockwinkel, who took him over and down, Jeff holds on to it. Again, Nick mares him over, but Jeff just like a bulldog hanging on to that arm. at the ring post.
Let's cut away for a moment. We'll be back for the conclusion of this match right after this.
And Nick caught in an armbar again on that shoulder as we roll up to the 12-minute mark with 48 minutes left. Champion back down on the mat. Got a 1 count. Nick not in a panic, but boy, oh boy, would he like to shake this guy off his arm. The shoulder's hurting, and the hold isn't helping it any at all. Nice. With a veteran move, after moving up and down 2 or 3 times, he rolled the distance and got him in a side headlock, holding him down on the mat. Bockwinkel getting a little relief now. With his weight, he can manhandle Jeff to that extent. Gets a little rest, but Jarrett not letting him rest that much with those powerful legs. Drives back up. Now he's on his feet. Jeff needs to shake him loose and go back to work on that shoulder. Oh, Nick misses. You don't see that happen often. And Jarrett follows up. Good instinct. 1. And Nick's shoulder is up again. The champion. Again, anticipating he had it all wrapped up a little too quick. Jarrett slipped out of the way. Nick kicked air, and following right in behind it was Jeff Jarrett, slipping up on the shoulder. Nothing else you got to say. Jarrett, a good accounting of himself thus far. He's got the arm in a hammer. We can't, yeah, I can now. Couldn't see it exactly, but I saw his hand in the position it was in. Approaching the 15-minute mark, and Jeff Jarrett is still around. 15 minutes past 45 to wrestle. 15 past 45 to go. Jeff holding on to hammerlock on the champion, Nick Bockwinkel. Trying to hang on, but Nick now in a better position where his weight is a big factor. Grabs the hair, backs Jarrett over to the ropes. Referee calling for a break, and on the break, Bockwinkel pounds him with a right. Hit him with a left that hurt Bockwinkel maybe more than it did Jarrett. Oh boy, not that knee. He sticks him right in the midsection. Drop, spears him with a foot, slips into the hammer position again. And he will not let Bockwinkel have the opportunity to get a 1, 2, 3. Nick has got to be getting very tired as Jarrett wisely has kept the pressure on the weak point. Bockwinkel Bockwinkel getting determined now. He told the referee, get this punk off of me. And with a hair in hand, Nick backs him into the corner, asking the referee for a break. Drives an elbow, and again. Oh boy, did he beat him out of that corner. Slams the head of Jeff Jarrett into the top turnbuckle. AWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Bockwinkel defending against young challenger Jeff Jarrett. And Jarrett, at the 17-minute mark, is still in the picture. Though Bockwinkel is now really trying to soften him up, scoops him. Still doesn't have the greatest use of that left arm that he hurt by hitting the ring post, and Jarrett has been working on it. Backbreaker, count of 1, 2, and Jeff is able to kick out. Bockwinkel, count of 1. Jarrett again positions himself to kick out. Crowd likes that. And Jeff fighting his way back. Tagging the champion pretty good with that right hand. Puts him down on the deck. Nick thought it was all over. Long way to go, Nick. And Bockwinkel flat on his back. Kind of 1, kind of 2, and Jarrett pitched off. Jarrett with a nice drop kick. Covers him again. Bockwinkel shaking it at the 2 count. Jeff sensing this, that Bockwinkel may be draining. Trying to keep the pressure on. Bockwinkel simply sidestepped. Jeff missed, and that's going to be it. Oh, to come that far and make a mistake like that is so prevalent in young wrestlers. The winner and still champ, Nick Bockwinkel. 1945 seconds. The winner and still champion, Nick Bockwinkel. 1945, the time Bockwinkel beats the title on a wheeling effort from Jeff Jarrett.
Adam Dunn was 2 years old when that happened. Adam Dunn missed when you got wrestling matches like that. Now I get mad, and I got in a big argument with somebody on the show. As Mr. Johnson says, Jeff and Nick Bockwinkel are really going toe-to-toe. Great championship type of matches. Also, Eliza says, love how well Jeff is working the arm and Nick is selling it. A lot of people, here's a lesson, and here's a thing, and here's a master class. There's not, as Ahmad says, he was 7 years old during this thing. Adam was 2 years old. Here's the thing, folks. A lot of people, when you see the holds, they call it, and this is the this is a damn Dave Meltzer saying the rest holds and all that. It's a wrestling sport. It is a wrestling event. They should have wrestling things. That was fantastic. And growing up in a different era and not seeing matches like that, and I won't for his final comments, and to add some depth to this deal from a much younger person than I am. I've almost got him doubled, pretty close. Adam, come on in here and tell me honestly, absolutely honestly, what you thought of this match, what you thought of this show today, and the final question, match, the show today, and the final question is, do you think a match like that would still work? We wouldn't get any boring chance, but do you think in 2023 we would? I'd love to hear Adam Dunn comment on that right now.
I think it was a outstanding match. I mean, you saw all the comments we had from everybody watching, and just we always talked about in Memphis wrestling, Jerry Lawler being able to lead guys through a match and take guys that were new and be able to have an awesome match with them. I mean, but right there you see how well Bockwinkel was able to do with Jarrett, and I think the way that they ended that match, it didn't hurt Bockwinkel, it didn't hurt Jeff in any way at all for it to end the way that it did, and it looked believable, and it was telling the story of the guy, and it made you think that, man, wow, Jeff was able to go that long in the ring with Nick Bockwinkel. This guy's got a real future ahead of him, and it wasn't something where he was brought in and done through Lawler or done through Jerry Jarrett or anything like that. So as far as could it work today, I mean, I think there's going to be a section of the fan base that would probably think it was boring or would probably not like it. But those aren't the people that are the fans of the classic Memphis wrestling style of wrestling or just classic mat wrestling, period. So, just like you say all the time, times have changed, things have evolved. But I think with the correct story and in the correct venue, yes, you could have a match like that today.
Let me put up Loz's comment right there, and that is not the one that I wanted to put up there. And how he see if you can. Oh, here it is. I found it. Let's put it up there. I'm having trouble, Adam, and I'm going to get it. Read that.
He says, been an absolute pleasure. One of my favorite shows yet.
So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, how did you like the show today? Because it was different.
It was different, but I think, this show is kind of ever evolving, and it's kind of different week to week because you have different co-hosts, a different amount of co-hosts, and even though we're kind of going linear fashion with the topics and the years, I really like how this show is not just a cookie cutter carbon copy of itself week after week. I think it evolves as the topics evolve, and I really enjoy this show as well.
Put up Al's comments if you would, and it's a nice comment too, and it goes back to what we were saying. He thinks that it would still work. Roman and guys like Orton still incorporate those holds, Jericho as well. When those guys are gone, I wonder how much we will continue to see that. Very little, because they've been conditioned in that being rest holds, and that's not what it is all. Thanks for sticking with me for the whole ride, Adam. It has been a lot of fun. We'll make this close real quick. We'll tell you about On the Front Row with Bud Rowe. My segment starts at 9. It'll probably be 9:30 before we finish with that. But anyway, the Power Hour On the Front Row with Bud Rowe every Wednesday at 953theticket.com. You can call in and ask your question. Call at 870-930-3776, 870-930-3776. Also, Jeff Wheeler saying Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey against Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. He would like to see that, and I think that would be interesting. Condrey and Hickerson, Condrey had success with certainly the Midnight Express super success there. But my favorite Condrey tag team is with Phil Hickerson. It is great. Appreciate everybody checking out the Living the Dream book, the Randy Hill story, Living the Dream. There's a way to do it. And you can also go to MemphisWrestling.com, and we would appreciate you doing that. And as we close the show, we'll, Adam, go with the social open before, and then we'll do that right as the buys and then go into the regular close. This has been fun for sure. We'll be back next Monday with show number 56 of the Power Hour. Check out the archive at youtube.com/@RandyHills. Last night's show was a lot of fun as well. And the Power Hour next Monday. We'll be back here next Tuesday. And of course, one more plug for Front Row with Bud Rowe tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock at 953theticket.com at 870-930-3776. And that puts a wrap on this show. Much love and thank you to our audience, to Chris Ellis, to Adam Dunn, to everybody that goes along with what my goal is, to keep the legacy of Memphis wrestling alive, as I've had the opportunity to living the dream, the Randy Hill story. Thanks to people that's on that picture: Eddie Marlin, Andre the Giant, Jerry Jarrett, Lawler, Dundee, Lance and Dave, and so many more. That's a wrap on this show today. It's been a great talking Memphis wrestling. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Living the Dream, Memphis Wrestling, The Randy Hill Story, is available now at randyhillsmemphiswrestling.com. Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.